I just want to stream something. But how am I supposed to do that? I've only got an Apple TV, a Chromecast with Google TV, an Amazon Fire TV, my Fetch TV, my PS5, that Telstra TV box I've got in the back of my cupboard somewhere, my iPad, my phone, my smart TV. If only there was just one more device I could consider from a really heavily oversaturated market. Ah, Hubbl. Thank God you're here. So let's put the snark aside. Yes, we've got a lot of devices that already stream TV shows. If I want to watch shows on Netflix or Binge or Stan or Paramount Plus, Paramount Plus, I know. Look, I'm well and truly covered. None of us are short of devices that we can use to stream our TV. So should you consider Foxtel's new streaming box? Or, look, wait for it, even grander yet, should you invest in one of their new TVs with Hubbl baked into the television? Well, actually, maybe. So what is Hubbl? Basically, Hubbl exists as a box overseas as well. So you can get Hubbl in the US. Over there, they call it a Xumo box. That's XUMO. And yes, there's a reason you've never heard of it before. So they've got the Xumo box in the US. In the UK, it's glass. And in the UK, they've got the TV as well. So it's the glass TV or glass screen, something like that. Regardless, in the UK, it's got a bit of cut through. Sky, the cable operator there, they've invested a lot of marketing behind it, and it's a fairly known, viable product. Foxtel are hoping to recreate the same thing here. So look, the one thing you're going to find with Hubbl is that it doesn't have the Foxtel products really anywhere around the brand identity of this thing. You'd expect, being a Foxtel box, that you would turn it on and you'd be able to stream Foxtel products, which, look, you can do that. But what's really interesting is that they're not promoting it as a box to watch your Foxtel streams on. You'd expect that you load it up and you'd be pushed Binge, their general entertainment service. You'd expect KO Sports. You'd expect Flash, which is their streaming news service, where they've got all the channels like CNN or Fox News, if you're into that, or MSNBC or whatever. That's all available via Flash. That's on the box, but it's not there up front and center. Also, they've got these new lifestyle channels in the new lifestyle app. That's not front and center either. They're there, but they're just part of the mix, the potpourri, the gumbo of streaming services on there. So what do you have on there? You've got all the major streaming services. So if you think about what you'd probably be likely to play, you've got your subscription services. So that's your big Godzilla, your King Kong of them all. You've got your Netflix, you've got Disney, you've got Prime Video, you've got Apple TV Plus. In terms of some free things, you've got YouTube. You can't get by without YouTube these days. You got all the free-to-air networks on there with their services. So ABC iView and SBS On Demand, 7+, 9 Now, 10 Play. There's an ABC Kids app. I mentioned Paramount Plus earlier. That isn't there from the very beginning. Neither Stan, but both of them are coming. But right there, you've got pretty much the majority of the services people are likely to have. Now, the strength of the Hubbl box is that they've signed all these partnerships. So we'll talk about what those partnerships mean, okay? But those partnership signings mean that you've got access to all these apps on there. It's all the major ones. But the weakness of the Hubbl box, and let's talk about that right now, this box has a really big problem. So look, let's be honest, there is a really big flaw with this box. You are a unique butterfly. It means that you've got tastes that probably extend outside of the interests of those mainstream apps. Maybe you've got a down and dirty horror interest. If so, you may have a Shudder subscription. Let's say that you really like British dramas. You may have a BritBox subscription or an Acorn subscription, which you get bundled in with Shudder and AMC Plus. None of those services on Hubbl. Maybe you really like reality TV programming. So Hayu, for example, none of that app's not on there. There are all these mainstream, like anime, like maybe Crunchyroll or anything like that. Like there are so many of these niche streaming apps out there, which aren't obscure. These are fairly main, multi-million-dollar making apps that are got global footprints, not available here on Hubbl. So look, this is the thing. You can sign up to Hubbl, you can get your Hubbl box, you can watch all of your mainstream apps. On the side of the box here, it says that the future of TV streaming is here. And look, I mean, kind of, but if you're to take Hubble's word for it, the future of streaming TV is having a Hubbl box and needing another box because you can't stream all of your apps on there. That's a problem. Look, If you take it from Foxtel's viewpoints, the value proposition that they have, the story that they're trying to paint, and I think they've probably got a fair bit of legitimacy as they're trying to say this, they're pretty much putting it out there saying that as human beings, we're not necessarily interested in going in and out of apps as we're trying to choose our shows or movies to watch at any given night. Instead, what we're actually more inclined to do is to think, oh, I'd like to watch a reality program. I'd like to watch a sitcom. I'd like to watch a drama. Like, you make a choice based on the mood that you were in at the time. And so to have to make a viewing selection going in and out of the couple of services you have to decide what is it that I exactly want to watch. And each of these services are rich with content. Like, you're really looking around as you're going through that decision-making process. I mean, I remember being at Blockbuster Video in the 90s and struggling for about an hour to find an option there. You kind of get the same thing here, but, you know, it's not quite as bad as Blockbuster back in the day. I mean, you're not going to go heading home with Martin Lawrence's latest. There's probably going to be something you actually want to watch. But there is, like, the fatigue that comes from having to search around all the time. Hubbl solves that. So they've signed these deals. They've signed a deal with Netflix and with Stan and wherever. So if you want to watch a sitcom at nighttime, maybe you want to load up Seinfeld, like, they will be sitting there because I've signed the deal with Netflix. Right next to Seinfeld on that same bar, you'll probably see Friends sitting there because I've signed the deal with Stan, which I think have Friends these days. Paramount Plus, look, they don't have Cheers because they got rid of that off the show, off the service for some reason. I'm still dirty about that. But they do have Frasier, so that might be sitting next to Friends. And so you've got these big marquee programs all collated together on the one platform that you can easily make those viewing decisions from. That's pretty cool, and that'll actually help save a fair bit of time and some energy, and, you know, it'll give you definitely a feeling that you're getting your money's worth, where you're seeing all these big titles all sitting alongside each other. Also, it goes a bit further. These are all human curated through Hubbl as well. This means that, and look, I don't even want to say this out loud, but look, I'm going to say it. One day, Russell Crowe is going to die. Look, no, I don't want to face that fact either, okay? But on that unfortunate day where he passes, Hubbl, for example, may suddenly have a strap that comes up and it's like Russell Crowe's greatest movies. You can sit there as, you know, revel in Gladiator. Oh, maybe you've got a bit of a tear in your eye watching, what was that film called? A Leap Year? Oh, terrible, ghastly film. You know, you've got, like, that's the curation sort of aspect of it, where there is a ability to be able to curate things based on what's happening in the world at any given time. If there's a news event or some sort of cultural sort of happening, it means that they can have that reflected based on the choices. Maybe there's been just really grim news out in the world. They may elevate comedy a little bit more on the page that night just to try to, you know, alleviate the general mood of the people, because there's that feeling that's what you want. That's what you get from human curation. So it's actually really cool that they've got that and have those partnerships signed. The problem is you still don't have your horror movies, if that's what you're after, or whatever, unless that's already carried on Netflix or one of those major mainstream services they do have. So, you know, you've got the good and the bad. But at this point, I think we probably need to take a look at the actual device itself. Let's take a look at Hubbl. Now, just then you did watch a compile of photos of me unboxing the Hubbl. Now, why didn't I record that as video? Well, just could you imagine anything more dull? But you probably noticed while looking at the pictures of the box that it came in is that it's a sizable box. Compare that to, say, the Apple TV box. If you buy that, the actual box and the packaging is very minimal and is very minorly bigger than the Apple TV itself. Compare that to the Hubbl, where it's a really sizable box with a lot of cardboard and finicky things that you're pulling out and lots of paperwork in there explaining like what you do with it, and it's a bit much, okay? You know, I kind of think that packaging, look, wasteful, okay? It's just a little bit wasteful. Something I didn't show is that in the box I had, and presumably it's the same for all on the shelf, and it wasn't just the ones that were sent out to reviewers, but there were some discount vouchers in there for, I think it was all 3 months off the various streaming services. So when Hubbl is trying to convince you to onboard to all the services, essentially you've got 3 months to give them all a trial. Now, what's probably worth noting, and something which I don't think I really talked about at all during the review, is that if you do subscribe to multiple services and handle your billing through Hubbl, they'll give you a discount. So if you sign up to 3 different services, they'll knock $5 off your monthly bill. If you not sign up to 4 services, it's $10. Sign up to 5 services, $15 off. That's a pretty good incentive to change your billing and run that through the Hubbl billing system. But it's probably just worth keeping in mind that it's maybe not necessarily enough of a discount to encourage the need to buy entirely new hardware for it. You're probably looking at, look, I'm not going to do the math on it, but close to a year's worth of discounts before you actually really start getting back once you start recouping the costs. So that's worth keeping in mind. Okay, now, while we're looking at all of this, let's just take a look through and see the Hubbl experience on screen. Now, first of all, I apologize. I don't have any screen capture equipment beyond my phone, which is pointed at a television. So look, it's a bit lopsided, and that's just try to keep it stable. I'm just going to run through this as quickly as possible because I think you just kind of need to get the overall sense as to what's going on. We don't need to look at every single screen, but you'll get the idea of it. So look, if you load this up and we're looking at the home screen right now, we're seeing some of the big titles that have been released on various streamers. So the very first thing here is Shogun, which is the brand new show on Disney+. Highly recommended. I really like this one. As we go from left to right, we see The Regime, which is a big title from HBO, which is streaming here on Binge, the home of HBO in Australia. The Regime, I didn't think it was very good. It's divided a lot of critics. Avatar: The Last Airbender, fans of the original animated series, not really so keen on it, but if you haven't seen that, then maybe give this one a look. Masters of the Air, that's the Band of Brothers follow-up series on Apple TV+. What else have we got here? A bit of Australian Idol, American Fiction, which I haven't seen, but is apparently rather good. 9Now is promoting Married at First Sight. SBS On Demand have Kin, which I'm pretty sure is a couple of years old at this point. We've got another binge title with Deadliest Catch, iView with House of Gods, Apple TV Plus Napoleon, 10 Play with some Australian Survivor, Lifestyle with Gogglebox Australia, and we're back to some Disney Plus with Star Wars The Bad Batch, and Amazon Prime Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and Vanderpump Rules. And so those are all the promoted shows in the main carousel at the top. And I think it's probably just worth noting going through all of those, because you'll notice that all of the major partnerships that they have were represented there within the carousel. And I'm sure that's not a coincidence. I'm sure you'll find that every time you log on, you'll find that same sort of assortment and equal spread, more or less. 2 Disney Plus titles. I don't remember seeing a second Prime Video. Not 100% sure. Okay, as we go down the screen, you can see that the next row here has various apps. So you can go through and get the experience of the specific services by their native apps. So let's just take a look through Netflix. That's, I'm sure, the interface that most people are probably quite familiar with. Load it up, and look, I was having a bit of a play around with it earlier. So this isn't exactly a first look at the Hubbl, but it's pretty close to it. I haven't really played with it for more than a few minutes. Look, so I've logged into Netflix, and you can see here, it's just the standard Netflix experience here, as seen in Australia. And what do we got there? Top 10 shows in Australia: Avatar: The Last Airbender, One Day, American Conspiracy, Formula One, and on it goes. So look, pretty standard stuff. Kind of interesting that the Last Airbender cartoon has made it into the top 10, very much off the back of the live action version. So I suspect they are probably doing quite a few, they're doing some numbers. Okay, so look, let's exit back out, and I'm playing around with the remote control here, and I would have thought that a back button would take me out of the app entirely, but no, but I've just pressed the home button on the remote control, and there we go. So we're out of the app there, and obviously as you go from left to right, you see all the apps represented there. Okay, and remember what I was saying about none of the niche apps being in there? Like, that really is felt as you go through the collection here. And obviously we are missing Stan and Paramount Plus. What you're not getting on a Hubbl box, which you would find on any of the other comparable services, is an app store. Okay, so, you're not able to extend beyond the apps that are here available on the platform. Now we've got the inputs button. This is, and it says here on the screen, you can plug in your TV antenna to get some local free-to-air channels. I don't have an aerial which I can plug into this, so we can't do that part of the tutorial, unfortunately. But look, I'm sure you've all scanned channels before, you get the idea. Now, as we go through here, there's a watch list. So I added a couple of shows on here. So we had Explanation. So what did I add here? I added Shogun. I've added the recent Law and Order, and Leverage, a show that I've always intended to watch at some point. And much like almost every show that I add to my Netflix queue, this will probably go unwatched for weeks, months, maybe ever. So, let's just keep that in mind. And you can see here that it's showing obviously the most recent things I've added. And then as I build up that watch list, you'll probably see shows here, probably in order of most recently viewed, I would imagine. Also, there's favorite channels here, which I'm not sure that really represents my favorite channels. In fact, I don't know if I've ever clicked on, I don't know how Docos is on my favorite channels. I don't think I've ever clicked on it. And then manage all. What happens here? I guess this is where we can remove shows from the list. And Leverage, let's keep it there. But, I guess that's as aspirational as one could ever be with that program. You can see here, obviously, it breaks down as genres. Remember what I was saying earlier about the idea that you might have Seinfeld, Friends, and Frasier side by side. This is where you'd see that experience happen. So at the top here, you can find that they have identified the big titles for each of the platforms. I would assume that that's information that's fed from the platforms each week. They probably send a report of some description, and so that's where those decisions are being made. What have we got here? So top picks. I'd presume that this is probably curated by the Hubbl team, just pulling out the obvious titles. So Curb Your Enthusiasm, Mr. Bates in the Post Office, very buzzy titles, and they're turning up there. And I guess that's really the trade-off that you're getting, which is if you're a really engaged viewer in the way that I am, none of these titles are like a surprise to you, like The Bear. Come on. I watched The Bear day one, but it's here as a top pick because broadly, while I may be obsessed with this show, there's still people out there who haven't pressed play on it yet. So that's kind of who the target audience really is for Hubbl. It's the sort of, I wouldn't say unengaged viewer, because that's probably not really quite true, but probably not the people that are spending hours upon hours, considering TV related things in the way that I do. Everyday real people, they probably haven't watched The Bear yet, or, did a few months ago and may want to be reminded of it. Whatever. I'm now rambling. Okay, so as we go down here, we can see latest additions to the various platforms. Anything worth noting here? Not really. Netflix shows. I'm not sure why House of Ninjas is cropped up here. I know I did watch the title. I can see there behind the tag of Netflix House of Ninjas, there is a button there saying continue watching. So maybe that's just identifying recently watched programs on Netflix. And so that's being added to the list there. Worth noting as well, Netflix is the only subscription service that I've so far logged into beyond Binge. So that might be why we're seeing Netflix shows and not a comparable, what else is on there? Disney Plus shows, for example. Although actually, no, I did log into Disney Plus, so that's a complete lie I've just told. So maybe Netflix have struck a deal to ensure they've got a shelf of their own on there. Although we do have this big breakout for Shogun, so it could well be that that's the Disney Plus agreement to provide one of those every time. I guess you'll probably start to notice some of those similarities where, scrolling down the page every so often you see a big Disney Plus. If that's what the deal is that's been struck, maybe that's just a curatorial choice from Hubbl. The more we play with these things, the more those things will become apparent. And of course, we are looking at TV shows, so we're seeing all the streaming channels here that are from entertainment channels. So you're not going to see any sports channels in here. These are all comedy. It's BBC First. It's Universal. It's lifestyle, real life. Yeah, it's box sets. We've got a new to Disney Plus shelf. Disney Plus animations, trending docos, new to Apple TV Plus. And look, okay, here's probably a really good thing to keep in mind here. New to Apple TV Plus, I have an Apple TV Plus subscription. I'm not logged in at the moment to that on the Hubbl box. So if we want to click on, let's say, the new look, we're going to go into it and it's going to come up and we can add series. I'm not going to do that, but when I hit watch, we're probably about to get an error message and telling us that I'm not a subscriber to the service. And let's watch the spinning wheel, and Apple TV is coming up. So it's really just opening the app and taking us into that app experience where I'm not sure if we'll go straight into the show or a program page. We'll see in just a moment. It's flickering. What do we got here? Okay, so it's letting me accept a free trial or play free episode. So, that's obviously a good way to get you hooked in. So look, I think it's kind of cool that we get to see a free episode. Will it require any sort of login details? Yeah, here we go. So it wants us to sign up to the platform so I can watch the free episode. And yeah, I guess that way I can be retargeted possibly. Yeah. Anyway, interesting stuff. But I guess that really speaks to one of the frustrations I have with the service, which is that at the very beginning, you are logging into all the various services that you have a subscription for. It takes you through the free-to-airs to plug your details into them. When you do that, some of those services are easier to log into than others. It just mimics the experience you have with those individual apps. And just going off the top of my head from memory on it all, SBS On Demand required a email and password, and I found that a little bit clunky signing up into that one because I got a very long email address, which is frustrating when you're working the remotes and going backwards and forwards and up and down. And then I think Channel 7 and the ABC had pretty good, scan the QR code and it'll just open the app and you're logged in there. So it just kind of logs you straight into the app. Sometimes you had to put that code in to sync your app with the screen. All different experiences. And for something which is supposed to be a really simple experience, it's a shame they didn't find a way to unify that experience. It's just a little bit more. Okay, so I'm pretty sure we're back here on the front page. You can see here, because we went into the Apple TV Plus app, that's now replaced Shogun as the primary tile on the front page here. And so push Shogun over a little bit. Let's go back down. We're seeing the apps. We're seeing TV shows we were just in, movies, and let's just pop in there for a quick second. Again, this experience will be exactly the same as with the TV shows. We're seeing on the top carousel here, various key marquee titles for each of the streaming services. What else have we got here? As we go down, top picks, movie categories. There was a TV show category in the same way. New titles, Netflix movies. We've got Prime Video as our big breakout here. And then, what do we got there? Binge. Look, here we go. And this is that curatorial aspect. So it's noting here International Women's Day, which I don't think was today, but it's appeared here. I'm not sure exactly what day International Women's Day is, but I would be lacking knowledge of that as part of the patriarchy, obviously. Spotlight on Kate Winslet. Kate Winslet, the star of The Regime on Binge, and so we've broken out Kate Winslet films here. Of them all, Avatar: The Way of Water, which, I'm a big Avatar booster generally, but I can't say I'm probably likely to watch this on my 55-inch screen here. Contagion, good film, worth a look. The Holiday, who doesn't love it? I've never seen it. Quills, I remember being fairly good. Titanic, I'm pretty sure everyone's seen that at this point. But look, obviously, all those Kate Winslet titles are there. Superhero Stories on Disney Plus, so that's a Disney-driven shelf. And presumably, if I'd logged into my... Actually, I did log into my Amazon credentials, and I haven't seen that up there. Apple TV Plus, again, we've got a shelf there. There's a Prime Video collection. And I'm guessing as we go down and as, say, for example, Paramount Plus or Stan, as they get added to the platform, I'm sure we'll see a shelf for them as well. Okay, and here's some collections of various titles coming up. So much the same way as you see collections currently sitting on platforms like Binge, they're replicating that for the Hubbl experience. Okay, news, and because I don't subscribe to Flash, I would expect that this is an entire section of channels that I would not really ever click through on because I can't watch anything. We've got news shows here from 9 Now and SBS On Demand and 7 Plus, so we've got all that amazing 7 News Spotlight content. Try to resist. We've got BBC World News, Fox News, Al Jazeera, and various programming coming through from those providers. Now, again, I don't have Flash as a subscription service, so I would imagine that most of these programs I'm not going to be able to access through it. I'm not going to bother clicking through because, again, not the most exciting things to be watching. And then kids, which I presume will break out Netflix Kids, ABC Kids, and other content. There we go, ABC iView First Thing Bluey, which is highly important for us all. I didn't realize that Hey Dougie, which is a much better animated show than, I think you probably realize, that's sitting here on binge as well. So I'm going to have to fire that up at some point for the little monster living in my house. And we can see here Netflix Kids, and again, it's identified as something that I've watched recently. Flora's Lava. Can you believe I still haven't watched the 3rd season of that yet? Or 2nd season? Yeah, anyway. What else have we got here? Popular movies. So, obviously, I think any streaming service these days needs a strong and robust kids section. So it's kind of nice that Hubbl is also following through on that. Okay, so you can see there the way that they really are collating content from all the various providers. We're back here on the homepage again, and we are seeing the various curated collections here. So trending items, Pride, so LGBTIQ plus content, obviously, TV guide, and we're going to get back to that TV guide in just a second. Netflix shelf, continue watching, top sport shows, movie favorites, gripping drama, comedy hits, and so on. Now, here's the thing. The entire experience of Hubbl is supposed to be about the ease of access of all of this. It's supposed to make it as simple as possible. I would like to think that at a certain point, it's going to realize that I'm not interested in lifestyle content, for example, and therefore it would stop showing that. But that's not the case at all. It's just got a very standard, very rigid sports section up there. Oh, sorry, I was talking about reality stuff. Also, I'm not a big sports person. I did log into a KO because I got given a free KO subscription through Telstra. So look, I can understand why that sports stuff is being, word dropped out of my head just then, is being risen to the top of the content pile here. Sorry, it's a bit late at night as I'm recording this. What else have we got through here? Dose of Reality. Again, I'm never going to watch Below Deck or any of these programs. So I'd like to think at a certain point, the Hubbl box would realize that's not something it should be serving up to me. But I don't think that's a reality I'm ever going to experience. Prime Video Show, Apple, and you can see here it's just breaking it down by services that are on the platform. Okay, so the last thing that I think is, there's 2 things I want to search through here. So let's go to the TV guide. We can see here it's being displayed as a shelf, and we're seeing here that things are just, if you go left to right, you're seeing the assortment of streaming channels that are available through the various apps. So you can see here there's a whole bunch of Foxtel channels that are streaming through Binge, and they are represented here on the list. So you can add them to a favorites list. I think you all know how that sort of thing works, so we're not going to click through on that. But if you scale back and go back to the actual TV guide, it does present it like a very traditional cable TV interface. So you can see here, and you can see you can restart programs that are currently playing, so you can play them from the beginning, and we'll demonstrate that in just a second, or you can watch it here as a grid. Now, if you look over on the far right-hand side, you can see the box there is showing the most recent app that I was in, which was Apple TV Plus. But if you scroll down, and let's just go to Channel 10 HD Sydney, I've clicked on the TV channel on that far left-hand side, and it is not actually demonstrating what I expected it to. How frustrating for the demonstration. Let's just go to Arena. Okay, there we go. And you can see that. Channel 10, it just took a bit of time to come up, but you can see that's they're playing in the bottom corner. If I go down to the next channel being Arena, we can see the spinning wheel there, and it will eventually load up Arena.
You can see here there's definitely a little bit of a lag of time before things start playing. And you can see there was a fair bit of time for that function to even start playing the channel 10 to even begin giving us that little preview. I would not chalk this up to my internet speed, which is generally quite good. I'll do a quick speed test for you now, except I'm currently using my phone to record this, so I can't quite do that demonstration. But rest assured, like, I can stream things generally very quickly. It's not like I usually have this sort of lag. This is definitely the slowness of the box responding to this. Now, I did see a demonstration of this functionality at the launch event for Hubbl. And when they did that, there was an aerial plugged into the back of the box. You could tell because the channels were loading very, very quickly. And they were looking at the free-to-air channels, and you could flip through them in the same way that you would if it was just on your own TV at home. So, look, if you're going to plug in your aerial, you're going to get some fast response with that free-to-air range of channels. If you start going to the pure streaming ones, you will find that lag. Now, I don't have the aerial plugged into the back of this box right now. So what that means is that the channels, the free-to-air channels, they are all coming through via streams. So it's nice that if they can't replicate the antenna experience, they are to bring it through via the streaming platforms. So if you go through, and I'm not going to load up F-Boy Island because, obvious reasons, but let's go to Showcase and Curb Your Enthusiasm. So I've clicked into the actual show here on the grid and not just the Showcase channel. And we can see here an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's one of the earlier seasons, I think, from memory. But yeah, so we've got that, and sorry, something I should have just clicked on. While we're in there, if I just press the center button in my scroll here, you can see here that we've got the episode that we're watching here, and then you can see the upcoming episodes later on. We've got some Belgravia playing at 10:45, and then it's back to Curb from 11:40. Now, all that's good and well, but you can see here that if we look at the current title, I have come in on the episode at 8:39. At 8:20, the episode started. So I can click on that, and it'll just take me back to the beginning of that episode. I'm watching it on demand. And that's a fairly helpful product, but not exactly unusual these days. So Fetch TV will do something similar, and I'm pretty sure that you'll find that Fetch will actually rewind as well to 12 hours prior, 24 hours, something like that. Now, I am just scrolling back, and I've inadvertently flicked my Samsung TV to, not sure what channel this is, but I think that's coming through from the range of Samsung Plus TV channels, which is kind of interesting, but that's neither here nor there. I could probably do, actually, you know what? That is probably a perfect place to discuss what is missing from these channels. Just then, that was Samsung TV Plus. Obviously, it's not like Hubbl struck a deal with Samsung TV Plus, so you're not going to get those fast channels coming through here, but you're not finding fast channels from any of these services. So 10Play, for example, is currently available on the platform, but all the many Pluto TV channels that are available through the 10Play app, not available here. So it's just the free-to-air broadcast channels that you'll find from Channel 10 to be able to stream, but all the additional channels, you're not finding them. And the same thing applies to the extra channels that you find on the Channel 7 app. Channel 9 have launched a couple of extra channels as well, which is, it's like Pedestrian TV, there's a Seinfeld channel, a couple of others, not there. So that's a bit frustrating. I've been told from Foxtel, well, from a representative Foxtel/Hubbl, that the app providers can determine what channels they serve through. But look, I find it somewhat curious that none of the channels are available from any of those additional streaming services. And I would have thought that if the app is on there, they'd be very happy to see the extra ads that they've, that people are paying the money for to make it through onto the platform. So look, there's that. As we scroll down as well, we're seeing that same problem that I identified earlier, which is I don't have access to the Flash subscription service. And we can see here on the top left-hand side under the Hubbl logo, which is always present on screen, it shows you what service that channel is being streamed in from. So look, if I scroll down to, say, CNN and decide I want to watch CNN this morning, look, let's click on the CNN channel to begin with. and we've got the spinning wheel, and we'll get an error message in a moment saying, you don't subscribe to this channel. For upgrade info, view in full screen. And we can click on that and it will take us somewhere. Okay, look, I can press the button with the rainbow dots. That'll let me upgrade to start paying for Flash, which I'm not going to be doing because I already get CNN through other services. In fact, I'm pretty sure CNN is available through the Binge app, and so it's a little bit rubbish that that is being locked off to us through there. And just as a bit of curiosity here, let's go into the Binge app and see if we can find those streaming channels available through here. Nothing there. There we go, Binge channels. Do we have access to CNN in the way that you do through the standard Binge app? Not an unreasonable question, I'd suggest. There we go, MSNBC, CNN. Let's click that up. Ah, and I've blocked that off from us. Very interesting. Very disappointing also. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, that's me just being a little bit frustrated by that. Yeah, so you are definitely getting a lesser experience if you're watching your apps through Hubbl than you are watching it through the apps. So yeah, that's certainly a consideration. And just on the idea of the fast channels available through the thing, let's just take a look at 7 Plus. And look, I mean, the whole thing with Hubbl is that a lot of it's supposed to be very much about that on-demand experience and not so much about linear. But if they're going to provide access to the linear channels, then I think that the entire experience should be there. So let's go to the live tab on 7 Plus, and we'll see here that there's a whole bunch of channels that are not available through the app. So, you know, Better Homes and Gardens, the Hell's Kitchen channel, Wicked Tuna, which, you know, again, Run, Don't Walk. Look, there's some Home and Away classics channels, and what's that, is that first season? Season 1. Holy dooly. Our Country Practice channel, like, who's not watching through all of that? But you see, I mean, look, there are just a whole bunch of channels here that aren't being represented through the streaming linear section. And that includes, you know, look, here's The Hateful Eight, Tarantino's film. Straight after that, you got 3 Sense of Humor, The Forbidden Kingdom. Look, those are 3 banger films right there. There's the My Time Movie Network, which is a lot of sort of Lifetime channel type movies. It's a different branded experience, but, you know, Swamp Thing, which, unless I'm mistaken, is a film with the young Heather Locklear making an appearance in that one. Ozbiz, Weather Spy. Look, I mean, there's certainly stuff on here which is worthy of watching. Like, again, Movie Sphere sometimes really delivers quite a number of really good titles. And, you know, you can't watch that unless you really go hunting into one of the apps. So it's a bit of a shame to see that locked away in the way that it is. But at least you can access it in a way that Binge aren't providing access to CNN or MSNBC or any of the other news services, even though it's usually part of the Binge app that you're paying for. What do we got here? So we're going into 10 now, and we're going to look at their fast channels. Again, we go into the live TV tab, and you can see here that not only do you have the free-to-air network streaming through, but there's a Avatar: The Last Airbender channel, which, as we can see, it's a top 10 show on Netflix now. So there's obviously demand for that kind of thing. MTV Reality, Nicktoon, a bunch of MTV branded channels, including, you know, Dario. Who doesn't want to watch Dario pretty much 24/7? A bit of Geordie Shore, bunch of Nickelodeon cartoons, number of channels based around their reality formats, some factual stuff, drama, Bold and Beautiful, bit of a liberal use of drama there, Channels 10, but we'll go with it. There's the 24/7 90210 channel, 24/7 Baywatch channel, 24/7 Prisoner, 24/7 Puberty Blues, Merlin, Murder, She Wrote. Did I say Murder, She Wrote? Sorry, I meant to say Diagnosis Murder, Mission Impossible, Hawaii Five-0, Matlock, Dynasty, Gunsmoke, Twilight Zone, a Becca channel, Happy Days. You know, like, there's stuff. And if I could find that as part of the streaming experience through the linear channels, I'd be very happy about that. The Romance Movies channel, they carry Movie Sphere on Pluto TV here as well. Like, there's stuff there. And again, if you know that it's there, you go hunting for it. But also, I don't want to look, if we're going to talk about simplicity here and you're getting all the benefits of the various apps through your curated interface, why is it that I would have to go hunting to see what is on the schedule for Movie Sphere when I'd like to see that amongst the other things on the grid? And, I just don't think that experience is necessarily there. And the more that I play with this box, the more I'm just finding those little things which are just slightly disappointing. None of these are deal breakers, but, it's just kind of like you see it and you wonder why. It's just, too many questions from the outset. But yeah, I mean, this is largely it. The last thing I want to leave you with is this button here called My Account. So when you go into My Account, and let's load it up. Okay, please wait. Waiting. You do that work there, you 4 boxes. Okay, something's happening. Here we go. We've got some personal details where I just have my phone number up there. So if you just saw a brief edit there, that's what that was all about. Okay, what else we got here? Change password. Let's not click into that before you see my exciting password of 1234. Oh, wait, no, that's probably an account and PIN control and marketing preferences. Okay, that's all good and well, but what we want to see over here is my subscriptions and manage subscriptions. So if you go in there, it will actually tell you how much you're paying for the subscriptions. Now, just keep in mind that those 2 services in there, I'm logged into a number of services, but the ones I'm paying for are coming through on that. And you can see here that the 2 plans that I've got sitting up on the side there are coming through. So look, I'm in a bit of a unique position with this in that I've got a deal with Telstra where I get a KO subscription for 12 months through there as a Telstra customer. So it's given me, if you look at my build subscriptions, it's showing $0, and Binge, I've got a sub that's being complimented to me through the people at Binge. So that's currently logged in, and that's why that's sitting there at $18 a month. But as you scroll down, you can see here that Stack and Save, we're seeing 3 apps, 4 apps, 5 apps, and that's where you're starting to see those discounts. What else we got here? As we scroll down, you can see various other apps and you can sign up to them through the interface. So if you want to sign up to Netflix, and look, this is something I actually really want to show you here. If you go into Netflix here, we can see there it's got their $16.99 a month. That is that middle tier Netflix experience that you've got there. And did I just sign up to that? I think I did. I didn't actually want to do that because that's not what I was show you. So if I tick that, I'm hoping. Okay, cool. That took it off there. What I actually want to do is click on that pencil icon, which will let me choose my Netflix plan. So $16.99 a month gives me my 2 screens in high definition, or they've got their premium plan of $22.99 a month with 4 screens for 4K. What do you see missing from that? It's their 3rd tier, which is the entry level tier that I've got, which is Netflix with ads. Now, I don't remember exactly what the dollar figure is on that one. I want to say it's $7.99 Australian, might be $8.99. Regardless, it's under $10, and that's not available as a plan that you can sign up for through this. Now, obviously, there are deals related to discounting, and maybe they just lose too much money on such a cheap product like that. And of course, if they're giving you $5 off if you've signed up to 3 platforms, if one of those is only worth like $8 a month, then, you can sort of see where the economics are not really quite right. But it does mean that you can't necessarily stack and save all the platforms, all the subscriptions that you necessarily want. So Netflix is restricted there. You can sign up to Lifestyle for $8. You can sign up to Flash to get all those news channels. And then further down, you can see you've got here Disney Plus. But what we're not seeing here is Amazon Prime, which I'm currently signed into, I'm pretty sure. So you'd think that'd be there, but maybe the reason for that is that I can't migrate that over on account of the fact that that is paid for as part of my overall Prime subscription. And I think in Australia you can subscribe to Prime Video separately, but I'm not 100% sure on that, and that may not actually be true anymore. Sorry, I should have looked that up before I started just running my mouth off here. But you can see that they're $17.99 a month. But if we click on that, can we get the annual price? Yeah, see, again, we're only seeing those monthly prices. So the defaults was 4 screens at 4K at $17.99. And then here we're seeing $13.99 a month for 2 screens. Again, Hubbl know a bit more information about me than what it's presenting here. I did tell the box that I didn't have a I didn't have a 4K television. It identified that early when I was playing with my video settings. So in theory, like, it should always default to 2 screens if that simplicity was necessarily baked into the experience. Okay, but you can see there, I can move my Disney Plus subscription over to Hubbl. Now, if we just think about what we can actually see here, basically when it's saying to stack and save, ultimately, what we're really seeing is the ability to stack and save Foxtel products and not necessarily the broader range. So there is Netflix, there is Disney Plus, they can stack and save, but if you really want to maximize it, like, you probably need to be fairly well invested into the binge ecosystem to get those discounts. And look, I mean, that's reasonably fair. I don't think we could really be sort of too upset about that. We really are dealing with the early stages of them sort of taking over billing for other companies, and other companies may not be so keen on giving over that billing access to binge. You see competitors in the space like Optus's SubHub. You don't find every service available through there, nor do you find necessarily every tier available through those services. So that's all worth keeping in mind. Okay, so we're just going to back right out. And then here you can see various devices and, updates there. Oh, okay. So once again, I just showed my phone number and my various details on the screen. So there was definitely an edit there because I don't necessarily want that many more additional pizzas delivered to my house. That's the entire Hubbl experience. So look, let's sort of wind this up and we'll go to me in just a moment, giving my final thoughts on the product.
So hey, look, I mean, that's the Hubbl experience right there. Remote control is fairly easy to use. In fact, hang on, let me just grab it. Not sure I really showed this off properly. So there's the remote control, and you may have seen a photo of it earlier in my little compile, but you've got 3 apps there. So you got Netflix, watch that, binge and KO. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Netflix, binge and KO. Sorry, back to front, don't know how things work. And then all the sort of fairly standard buttons. So when it comes down to the question of, would I use this in my household? This remote control is probably the one big selling point for it being used in my house. This remote control here, the weight of it, it's actually a little bit heavier than you'd really expect it to, but it feels comfortable in your hand. I can imagine myself sitting on the couch, mindlessly flipping away on it. Like, it's a good remote, and that's probably, it seems so unfortunate to say that this is the selling point for it, but for me, it actually is. In terms of the app selection, in terms of what I subscribe to in terms of Australian services, it's all pretty much there. I did find, and this is maybe one of the things that is a bit disappointing about the setup, but this could very well change. It's all software based. I'm really interested in fast channels. And so if you get onto, say, 10play, for example, right now, they've got about 50 odd channels streaming everything from some MTV reality channels to a 24-hour Baywatch channel to a channel that plays nothing but the Twilight Zone. Like, all of that is kind of cool. I didn't see any of that when I was flipping through the channels. So it seems as though the integration for live extends as far as the linear broadcast channels, albeit streamed through the device. So I don't know, that's a bit of a disappointment. I know that I did go to the launch event and I was having a bit of a chat with the head of comms for the Hubbl platform, and he said something, and I don't know if this is really like an official thing, so apologies if that was some wine talk at the end of the night. But it was more or less that that's a function that's kind of left to each app provider to decide whether they want to have that ingested. And look, fair enough, but I think it's probably a big missed opportunity for Channel 10 not to have those channels coming through. So I don't know the particulars on that, but certainly that does seem like something which is a bit of an oversight in the overall structure of it. So look, I probably wouldn't necessarily buy this for myself. As I said, I like that remote control, but I'm pretty happy with my Apple TV Plus, and there's no reason necessarily to upgrade. If my Apple TV was to break, okay, maybe I would consider this. But again, I don't like the idea of being locked out of some other apps that may sort of come along. So, you know, in about a year or so's time, we've probably got HBO launching its, Warner Brothers launching Max into Australia. Will that be supported by this box? Probably, but also maybe not. Like, I don't know. And frankly, I don't really want to spend $100 and find myself locked out of something on, you know, day one, let alone maybe 4 or 5 months on it, still not available. Like, I don't know what the future holds. So, you know, it doesn't feel like the wisest of investments to make for me who cares about that sort of thing. But look, if you're very happy with just your free-to-air networks and a Netflix and a Stan, for example, like, you know, maybe this is it, like, have at it. So in terms of that experience, if you're not someone who's like deeply invested in TV and movies in the way that I am, you're probably going to be perfectly fine with the curation on this and the ability to just go into the apps and play around. I think it's a pretty strong product by and large. So the couple of questions are, would I buy it for myself? Probably not. Would I recommend that friends or family go and buy it? Look, I'd have a conversation with them about what it is that they want from a box. And, you know, it certainly functions pretty well. It was pretty quick on responsiveness, and it's got all the streaming linear channels in there. That's pretty appealing for some viewers, and curation's pretty good, and it's got the apps, and, you know, that's all fine. I guess the third question, though, is would I give it to my parents to use? And this, I think, is probably the big selling point for Binge. It's those older viewers who are maybe not necessarily resistant to streaming, okay, but have some resistance to streaming. So my parents are rusted on Foxtel users, have been since 96, 97, thereabouts. So, you know, they've put in the years. Increasingly, they're finding fewer and fewer things on Foxtel to justify that cost each month. But I know that my dad's looking at Binge, and that's fairly appealing to him. He's probably not really enough of a sports guy to want to get the KO app as well, but I could imagine him getting Flash maybe and playing around that space. They've got a Netflix account, they've got a Disney Plus account, so, you know, they suddenly do play around in that streaming space. This, I think, the ease of convenience of the navigation, the remote control, which, like, that remote control is very simple to use. Like, it's traditional, it feels good on the hand. I like the buttons. I will say, and this is probably more an accessibility thing, which I don't really, it's not my forte by any means, but as I feel through, there's probably not enough here in terms of differentiation, in terms of the way the buttons feel. This would be my guess. So if you do have vision problems, and I'm not necessarily talking about people who are, you know, have vision problems all along, but maybe people who get older in life and sort of lack the skills of being able to find their way through a remote in the way that younger people probably pick it up if they do have vision issues. This, I'm not sure it quite feels different enough to be able to pick that up. You know, I'm thinking about, like, you know, your 75-year-old who may just have some issues there. I don't think they're necessarily going to be knowing that that's a microphone button versus that. It kind of feels different, but is it enough? Not sure. But generally that remote is familiar feeling, the interface is intuitive, and, you know, I can't imagine like fairly sort of simple tech users getting lost using that experience. So, hey, look, there's absolutely an audience for this. It's not me. I think it's definitely my parents. I'm going to pop this device into their hands and see how they go with it, because I think this is something that's going to get a lot of use in their household. But anyway, folks, you've watched for long enough. My name's Dan Barrett. This has been my run through of the Foxtel sponsored distributed products, Hubbl. Obviously doing the run through on the set-top box and not the TV itself. The TV itself, that experience is more or less the same. The only difference is that the TV's got a big sound bar on it, but other than that, it's just a TV, but powered by Hubbl. Good device. If you're interested in more things from me speaking, my YouTube channel, look, I've got very few videos on it, so don't necessarily expect an explosion of YouTube content unless, you know, this goes gangbusters, and then suddenly I might just be sort of swayed to do that. But you can find me doing a daily email newsletter each day. It's called Always Be Watching. Subscribe to that one at alwaysbewatching.com. Free to receive, turns up in your inbox 5 days a week, and it tells you all about what you need to know about streaming. It's what's happening in the US, what's happening in Australia, what's happening in the UK and Canada. It's very, Anglo-Western, my sphere of interest there. But anyway, check that out. I do a bonus 6th newsletter each week, which is for my supporters, and that is a weekly listing guide as to all the new and returning TV shows and movies to streaming on any given week from around the world. So it's not just Australian stuff. Anyway, folks, thank you very much for listening and or watching. Hubble, if you do end up buying one or you don't, and you've got some very strong thoughts as to why, drop me an email. You can find me easily enough. Anyway, folks, thank you very much.